This is Techstrong TV.
Hi everyone, Mitch Ashley here at Atlassian Team 24 in Las Vegas, Nevada. We are talking with some of the folks inside of Atlassian and talking about some of the great announcements that they've made, talks that they've had here at Team 24, and a lot of big things are happening. So I'm pleased to be joined by Tiffany To, is that right?
Correct.
Great, excellent. And you are SVP of Enterprise and Platforms, is that right?
That's right.
Excellent. That sounds like a really big job. Tell me what.
It does feel like a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
Atlassian has over 300,000 customers, and so many of those customers have grown with us for quite a long time, right? Sometimes 20 plus years. And so my job, my team's job, is to ensure that we're building the best cloud platform possible for those customers. Then it's going to scale and perform and do everything they need as an enterprise, and they're always pushing the envelope. And so we're always trying to make sure that we're one step ahead and we're building for what they need. So,
when you provide a great kind of solution or something that people can work with, oftentimes they start to push the boundaries of we didn't know they were going to use it for that. Oh, they're using it, maybe they're using it outside of IT, and suddenly you're an enterprise solution, right? Not just in IT. Certainly that's been part of the Atlassian story too, right?
That's exactly right. I think that a lot of our heritage is we build really great products. Everyone knows us for Jira and Confluence, and then all the subsequent products like Trello all the way through to our recent Loom acquisition. But one of the things that our customers have taught us is that it's not about those products individually being great, which they are. It's about how they fit together into a system that drives, like you said, all the workflows they need for their teams to do work. And so they do come up with really new, really innovative ways to use our products and push them to their limits. But I think that's what makes the job fun. We're always thinking about, okay, what else do we need to do to scale some of these workflows? What could we do to simplify the way some of our products work together? So that's a big part of, I think, the next shift and evolution for the company is thinking about not just individual products, but as you said, solutions, how they start to fit together for these customers.
How do you make that shift? There's a mindset to it, right?
Yes.
And it's got to translate down into product leaders and developers and people that are continue to evolve and innovate the product. How do you make that kind of shift? That can't be like flip a switch and ready to go, right?
For sure. You're exactly right. It's definitely not an overnight type of thing. I don't think that it's something that you can do easily or lightly because it's going to be a multi-year type of journey that you take. Atlassian's been investing in our cloud platform for, I think, over 6 years now. And so I think it started with the realization that the cloud wave has been happening. Everyone is going to be moving, not just data, but apps, workflows, so many things into the cloud. And so for us to kind of deliver the best value for our customers, we needed to rethink how we architect our products. And so we built a platform from scratch in the cloud that all these products run on top of, but not just the products, but all these workflows. And so that's where I think customers are going to see so much more power and flexibility because it's not, here's product A and product B on premise and I'm trying to stitch them together. It's, I have a platform. It's got an infrastructure layer with services. I have a data layer that's delivering data consolidation and services. And then you have all your apps that can run on top of it. And then we haven't even got into it, but then there's AI, which is super exciting as well.
You made some great advancements. I have a chance to talk with folks about some of the announcements there too. I think about this happens in other technologies like with CRM and ERP. It kind of starts to venture out of its original main business application of what it was. And while that can be great, it can work out as a strategy. Sometimes, applications kind of have a DNA of how they think about solving problems. And sort of a CRM and an ERP view of the world doesn't work for everything. And sometimes you start to push it too far and you're like, okay, now what do I do? It seems to me, having worked with Jira for so many years and Confluence and the other tools, it's a solution that can be applied to a lot of things. We've used it in IT and ITSM and others, but talk about how the enterprises are now kind of helping you enter into that or continue to evolve into that enterprise space. You're already obviously there, but you have business users, right, who are now building applications and doing things with your technology, right?
That's exactly right. I think it's a pretty exciting evolution because when you think about the core of what Jira and Confluence do, it was very much about connecting those dev teams or IT teams together to build software. But now when we think about all enterprises being digital, right, and every company is a software company, you actually need so many other functions to work together. And especially when you think about AI and automation and all these things, so much of the baseline of that work is going to be so much more efficient. So the hard bit is actually more around the people strategy and collaboration happening. And so I think that's where we have a unique opportunity, because Jira is a technical tool, like that's how it's perceived. But I think that at the end of the day, more than half of the users that come into Jira, they're not developers. It's actually the rest of the product manager, the program manager, marketing, designers. And so the next stage of us as a solution is becoming much more of an operating system for a digital company. So we want to have all that flexibility and power, but I think that we want to be a lot more inviting of all of the users in the company, whatever function they're from. Because what we're seeing with products like Jira Work Management that came out last year is that folks from, whether it's HR or marketing, like they can make use of all of these functions as well, but they also don't want to work in a silo. They want to be collaborating together across the company.
A lot of the data they like to use is already in there, right?
That's right.
Talk about some of the announcements that have been made. Love to hear about that.
Yeah, one of the really exciting things for me personally that we announced at the event this year is the Atlassian system of work. And I like to tell customers, system of work, is that some like newfangled technology? And I tell them, no, it's just us acknowledging what you've had to build. Like you're crafting and stitching all these things together, you're having to duct tape it, and Atlassian recognizes we could be a lot more helpful in this journey. With all the investments that we've made in the platform, bringing data together and providing integration points, we actually can be a bit more opinionated about helping you build the right system of work. To your earlier question, what are you trying to do? Is it an IT dev workflow? Is it marketing that needs to be better connected? We want to help you understand, hey, where are teams collaborating well, where they're not, and then how can we actually recommend how to plug all these Lego pieces together? So I think that's a pretty exciting new stage for us, because it allows us to, I think, solve much harder problems for our customer, which is what they've been asking for from us.
It seems like, if I understand, it's almost like taking a systemic view of what the work is happening across the organization. Wherever it happens, doesn't matter. It's not like this tool for that team, that tool for that team. Because so much of our world is collaborative, right? I mean,
that's right.
Especially after going digital transformation and COVID and all the things that sort of forced the issue of helping break down at least somewhat those silos, maybe a lot in some cases.
Very much so. And I think that when you look back at the agile transformation, and I shouldn't say look back because customers are still going through all this agile transformation work, I still feel like it harkened back to this like kind of factory model. And it was like, no, it's not a factory model. We can do these much faster loops. But it was still very focused on development, right? It was like, okay, software can be written in these loops. But now, as you said, the collaboration is across so many functions and time zones, right? And so you actually need those loops to think beyond just a dev and a software team. It's like, how do I collaborate faster with all the constituents? So it does require a more systemic view. I think it also means there's no one perfect solution, but I think that's where Atlassian shines. We've always been focused on making sure that our products are as flexible and powerful as possible, because with 300,000 customers, there's definitely no one size fits all.
Yeah, they aren't doing the same thing. Yeah, it's kind of the adaptability to different problems. Seems like that's a real strength as well, and not just one product. I mean, Jira as well as Confluence, and I think about Discovery and Compass and different kinds of collaboration than we would think of we might do within our project management schedule or workflow. But also think about metrics and measurements, and you're sitting on so much great data that's right. You're finding new ways to take advantage of it.
Well, that's what customers tell us. I've had quite a few customers say, hey, we standardize on putting data into your tools, right? Jira is our system of record. We put all our knowledge into Confluence. You guys have a gold mine, but you're not helping us actually get good value out of it, which is why last year we announced Atlassian Analytics. It was like our first time we had a common data lake for all our products, and we had a out-of-the-box analytics tool on top of it. And now it's like 1 year later. It's pretty exciting. At the show this week, we have so many customers from Southwest Airlines to Ford that are presenting on their use cases on top of this analytics tool. And you think, okay, that's old news. We've had analytics and data forever, but it hasn't been very usable, right? It's like, oh, you need to be a data scientist and you need to get all the data into a data lake, and you need expensive tools. And it's like, well, that makes the data not very useful, right? If you want teams to make quick decisions, right, when they're planning or when they're handing off and collaborating, they actually need that insight kind of at their fingertips. And so that's a big part of our vision in this system is we want that data to be accessible in the apps themselves. And so the next kind of wave, one of the announcements for Atlassian Analytics is that we're not just giving you easier to use dashboards out of the box, we're taking those metrics and we're embedding them right into the individual tools.
Okay.
So with features like Smart Links, where you can embed those insights into whether it's Compass or Confluence or Jira, now it's like democratizing a lot of those insights, which I think is exciting because that means all of us can be more efficient and effective together.
So you're taking out that sort of setup, all the effort you normally have to go through to like, okay, build this thing so now I can get the data and do the analytics out of it. You know,
That's right.
Make it easy for me to get the time to value to be fairly short.
That's right. And then if you think about AI on top of that, it's like a whole nother wave that we're just starting to scratch the surface on, because what's unique about our data model is not just, hey, we're quickly getting the data for you. It's that we actually map to the way the team does the work. So we look at very specific objects about the team and who's doing the work, what work they're doing, which often is in Jira, but could be in other tools. We're looking at data that might be related to that work, right? That might be in Confluence, it might be in a whiteboard. And so we actually form a bit more of a graph-directed view of that teamwork flow. And so that means we're not just giving you very structured, kind of typical insights. We're trying to do it in a way where you're going to be able to see things that you wouldn't normally be able to see. It's going to be much more contextualized. And so that's where the AI aspect comes in. I think you've chatted with some of the team on that.
We have. Some really great things too. You know, that's come up about a graph view about collaboration. And the technical folks in the audience probably know what a graph is, graph database or graph view. But I think you described it well, which is it's about the connections of all the data relates to other data. Because you think about it's not a personnel system, but all the people data that you have because of all the people using Confluence and using Jira. That's part of that workflow, right?
Yes.
Hooking them into workflows that you've created or need to create. So you've got people part of this built into it. It's not just a ticket like, the old days of, ticketing systems.
Well, I think that's the evolution of how we think about data, because I think traditionally it's been like, we have so much data, we need to structure it. And if we structure it, databases, it's more useful. And yes, when it's structured, it's very useful, it's very powerful, but a lot of things don't lend themselves well to structured data, like you said. And the people thing is exactly one of those areas. Sure, I could take an org map and use that to structure how work happens, but we both know that's not how work flows, right?
It's wrong as soon as you save it, and people don't fit into one box.
Exactly. So for us, this data model, we've announced it as the teamwork graph. And the reason why it's a teamwork graph is there is both a people graph in it and an object graph, right? Because the people are your most valuable resource, to be honest, right? And they're very dynamic, like we said, in terms of how they're working on things and how they move around. The object graph helps us map the types of work that they're doing. But then on top of that, we're adding actions. We've also recently added a semantic index so that all of that can then be plugged into Atlassian Rovo, the new AI announcement. So now you have all of that insight contextualized, all those relationships at your fingertips. So that means when we're building these Rovo agents to help you collaborate and work, they have all that context. You don't have to teach them, Tiffany works with this team and these projects are the ones that are interesting to her. It'll have that from just the teamwork graph itself.
It's not just a flat directory of, here's our org chart in digital form.
Exactly.
I'm curious too, I don't know if there are any announcements about this, but it seems like some of the things that you need to manage with that is the security part of it, access controls, who can do what, who can view what, all that kind of thing. There's also what are people working on. And the security folks have a view of that data about insider threats and vulnerabilities or threat landscapes or attack surfaces, things like that. Is there anything from a security perspective when you're talking with enterprises that they say, here's what we really need to see that you've got in your technology?
Yeah, no, you've hit on a really important area of investment for us, because I think the idealistic view of collaboration is like, everyone should have access to everything. It's all free flowing. But I think the reality is the level of compliance and privacy and all those concerns as you become a mature enterprise or you're serving specific industries that are regulated means that you also have a lot of responsibility, right? So you have all that data, it's very powerful, but you have immense responsibility on how you caretake that data. And so customers have been very clear with us. They need our help to really step up the level of security they can provide on top of the access of that data. So one of the exciting things we've announced this week is the Access product that has been around now for a number of years, which is about identity and access control.
Right.
It's evolved quite a bit. We've started to add a lot more security controls into it. And then we've invested over the last year in adding data loss prevention and threat detection. And so we've relaunched that suite as Atlassian Guard. And so it's very much a commitment to customers that, hey, we hear you. The needs that you have for security and access control and information security, they've grown, and our products need to deliver those capabilities with you. So it's an area we'll continue to invest in.
Great.
I don't think you're ever done with security. That's just the way it goes.
No, I don't think we're ever done with AI or security or data, right? Those seem to be the things that there's perpetual, always great things.
There's always innovation, right? And so the good thing is, I think for customers, they see that we're committed to continue to invest there. So as their needs grow, we're going to invest in more security, and that's something they're going to continue to see more announcements from us.
It's great to hear that. I think it's smart to relaunch Access as Guard, given that you've done so much with it. And I remember when Access came out and using that, and I've been tying it to our director. I can't remember. It's been too long ago.
Yes, exactly. No, you're exactly right.
And that was some of things even then we had to think about, like, who can see what and get access to what information in Confluence, and that was just assumed, right? Enterprises assume you've got the RBAC controls of who can access and do what.
Exactly.
And then now what are the threats and how do we know what's happening?
And they want that to be fine-grained. That's a lot of the feedback I've heard is like they want to push the limit of how teams can collaborate. So they want that free flow of information, but they want to ensure that they're tracking everything. So the audit logging, the data classification, those are the types of features that we announced this weekend that we'll continue to build on.
Very nice. Yeah. One of the terms we've kind of thrown around in the low-code, no-code space is citizen developers, right? Everyday people.
Yes.
Using tools to help their work. I think maybe the first version of that was a spreadsheet, right? Which is, love to get rid of a few of those in this process. How do you build products that IT technical people, as well as, let's call them citizen developers and users, can create the kind of tools or create the kind of solutions for themselves, as well as working with other teams to do that?
Yeah, I think it's one of the benefits of having such a wide customer base. I've worked previously in enterprise software companies where you are focused on just the largest enterprise customers. And I think when you're in that space, it's easy to end up tuning your products to a very specific set of personas. But because Atlassian has such a wide customer base that we end up getting really amazing feedback from such a wide set of folks using the products in so many different ways that it enables us to start to think about, where can we invest to make this a lot easier? And so, for example, one of the things we've announced this week is that our Jira Work Management product, which was a version of Jira that we had built for much simpler usage for non-developers, we actually saw a lot of those features being desired by the teams that are doing the development. So we actually announced bringing Jira Work Management and Jira Software together into one consolidated Jira, which is what customers want. They actually want the power and the simplicity at the same time. And so some of those things are like having a list view, not having to do a million bits of configuration to get a project going, having summaries, right? So there are a lot of those types of simple features that aren't necessarily just for non-devs. They kind of go back and forth, and so now they're all in one Jira. And sometimes it's little things like look and feel. Like we've had customers tell us just add to the color palette, because there are a lot of those very human elements of design.
That personalization or design.
Yeah, that makes such a difference for folks. And then on the other end, I think it's also taking the powerful features and making them a lot easier for folks. So for example, automation is one of our most well-used features in the platform. And it's great when you know what to do. You can build rules, and we've actually launched this really amazing new interface to be able to put those automation rules together. But if you're brand new to Jira, you don't know. Should I use this? What automation makes sense? And so we've added things like a lot more templates out of the box, as well as now you can do a natural language query. So you can just say, you don't have to know how to build a rule.
Can I build this?
You could just say, build me a rule that looks for incidents, and when there's an incident, send me an email, Slack these 3 people, and spin up a new Confluence page, right? So we have a comms report. So you can take very basic strategy, and it will build the whole rule for you. And I think that allows us to take something powerful and make it a lot simpler. And so when you go back to citizen developer, I think it's so much more than that. It means allowing anyone, whether they're in HR, marketing, legal, to be as powerful as, a very a developer that knows our products really, really well.
Great. So you had a super session here. I'm sure you talked about a lot of these things. Anything else you covered in that?
Yeah.
You'd like to highlight?
Sure. So our super session was on that system of work that I talked about earlier.
By the way, that's not a new Stephen Covey book. That's an Atlassian system of work.
The Atlassian system of work. But I think part of why the name is a little bit more generalized is I think we recognize this can be anyone's system of work. We owe it to customers to enable all the different use cases that they want to build on top of our platform. But we also want to help be a little bit more opinionated, because I think that's also what we've heard from customers is we love the flexibility, we love the power, but sometimes we want a bit more help. Tell us maybe out of the box what is important to configure. Tell us the best practices that other customers are using. And so one of the things that's I think powerful about the system of work is that we're going to anchor on a couple of really key things that we consider teamwork foundations. We consider it foundational because we think everyone in the organization, whether you're a dev, like we've talked about, or someone in HR, legal, marketing, they all should be able to set goals, align work to those goals, right? We all have goals, whatever function we have in the company. We have to be able to plan and track work together, right? Your view of the timeline can't be different from my view, or we can't coordinate our work. That's number 2. And then number 3 is unleashing knowledge. So we should ensure that whatever knowledge is being built in one area by one team, that's all fully democratized and usable by everyone without, like we said earlier, needing a lot of investment, data science or analytics to pull all of that out and share it, make it available to everyone at their fingertips. So that teamwork foundation is something that if we think you give that to everyone in your company, then you can build the most powerful system of work. You can do amazing things because now you're getting everyone in the company on the same page. So
makes a lot of sense. Those are primitives everybody has to do, right? Set goals, track work, and what was the last one, the third one?
Unleash knowledge.
Unleash knowledge.
That's right. And so those are objects that tie back to that teamwork graph that we talked about. And so we see it being something that you can build on top of. So we're making that teamwork graph available to our developer community. So customers, marketplace partners, third party, everyone can build on top of that. So I think the workflows are going to be endless. So it's just the beginning of the system of work journey.
Excellent. Well, when customers ask you as a company to kind of go these directions, or they're already using your technology that way, and then you make announcements like this, what's the reception been? What do they think of the strategy that you've unveiled? And I'm sure the enterprise customers have probably gotten a little bit of a preview look at this leading up to the event. What's the feedback or reaction been?
It's been amazing. It's been really, really positive. I think customers, especially some of our largest enterprise customers, these are all the challenges they've been telling us about for quite a while. So to them, it's very much a, yes, Atlassian's going to partner with us, and they're going to help us build together an amazing system of work. So quite a few of them have already reached out to say, how can we be part of giving you a great feedback loop on this system of work? So I think it's going to be a great journey together.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Just some major announcements, big stuff. I'm sure a lot of hard work by a lot of people at Atlassian going into that. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Great talking with you, Tiffany.
Likewise.
All righty. Everybody, you heard it straight from the people thinking about how do we solve these tough problems that customers are working through and trying to use technology for and solutions. And here's how we do it. There's the approach we're taking. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you for joining me, Tiffany To, and we'll be back with another great interview here at Team 24 in Las Vegas, Nevada.